There is a war happening inside you right now, a war between who you were and who you are becoming, a war between pain that has already passed and the peace you are still searching for, and too often, you are reliving a life that no longer exists. You carry guilt like a chain shackled to events you can no longer change. Regret becomes your companion. Shame becomes your shadow. But hear this clearly, you cannot walk freely into your future if your hands are full of the past. We forgive not because they always deserve it. We forgive because we deserve peace. You've made mistakes, you've hurt people, you've said things you wish you could take back, but carrying that pain is like drinking poison and expecting healing. Let go. Not because it was okay, not because it didn't hurt, but because you're ready to stop hurting. You are not your past, but how many times do you wake up and feel the weight of who you used to be pressing down on your chest before the day has even started? Every mistake you've made, every failure you've endured, every word you wish you could take back, they form a story you continue to tell yourself even when that chapter has long been closed. You begin to identify with your lowest moments, with your weakest decisions, as if they are your only truth, but they are not. They were moments in time, not definitions of your soul. Yet the mind holds on to pain like it's something sacred. We replay memories like broken records, hoping somehow that this time they'll end differently. We hold on to guilt like a punishment we think we deserve. It becomes a quiet background noise, not loud enough to scream but persistent enough to haunt. Regret, shame, and self-blame settle into the body like heavy stones, and we start to walk through life arraying them, thinking that this burden is somehow noble, somehow necessary, but it is neither. The truth is, when you carry the past on your back, you walk hunched over, you stop seeing possibility, you stop dreaming, you live in survival mode, always reacting to a wound that no longer bleeds but still aches. Your identity becomes a reflection of your scars, not your strength. And day by day you forget that healing is your responsibility, and also your right. We forgive not because they always deserve it, but because aim wound, and eventually, the pain becomes less about them, and more about how long we've allowed it to stay. Forgiveness is not about denying what happened. It's not about pretending it didn't matter, or that the damage was small. True forgiveness acknowledges the depth of the pain and still chooses to release its power. It is the conscious decision to no longer carry the burden of someone else's actions. It doesn't mean you condone what they did. It means you choose your peace over. We deserve peace. This is a truth that doesn't come easily. When someone wounds us, especially deeply, our instinct is to hold on to the pain, the betrayal, the anger. We think that by holding on we are keeping control, that somehow refusing to forgive is a form of justice. But what we don't realize is that this grip we tighten around the past is not punishing them, it's punishing us. Every time we revisit that hurt, every time we replay what they did or said, we reopen. We deserve peace. This is a truth that doesn't come easily. When someone wounds us, especially deeply, our instinct is to hold on to the pain, the betrayal, the anger. We think that by holding on we are keeping control, that somehow refusing to forgive is a form of justice. But what we don't realize is that this grip we tighten around the past is not punishing them, it's punishing us. Every time we revisit that hurt, every time we replay what they did or said, we reopen your bitterness. The weight of resentment is subtle but heavy. It hardens the heart, narrows your view of life, and poisons your ability to trust or connect. It bleeds into your present and contaminates your future. But forgiveness, when practiced honestly, is a form of liberation. It frees your emotional energy from the grip of the past and returns it to the present moment where your life is actually happening. The world is not fair. That's a truth many come to accept, not because you want to, but because the world has taught you to protect yourself at all costs. But in the process of protecting yourself from hurt, you also shut yourself off from healing. Holding on to anger or bitterness towards the world may feel like a defense, but it becomes a quiet prison. You trap yourself in a story where you are always the victim, always wronged, always guarded. And while your anger may feel justified, it begins to consume the space where joy could have lived. Every sailor's time you curse the world, you reinforce a belief that it cannot offer you anything good. Forgiving the world is not about pretending injustice doesn't exist. It's about choosing not to let that injustice define the way you move through life. It means loosening your grip on bitterness, so your hands are free to hold something better. It means refusing to let the cruelty of others turn you cruel in return. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. But so many live in a constant state of self-judgment, measuring every step against against impossible standards, believing that healing only comes after perfection is achieved. The truth is, waiting to love yourself until you are flawless is a promise you will never be able to keep, because wholeness is not found in being without fault, it's found in embracing every part of yourself, even the ones you were taught to hide or hate. Wholeness comes when you stop dividing your life into acceptable and shameful parts, and begin to see the full picture for what it is: human, honest, and still worthy. Forgiveness of self is one of the hardest things a person can learn. We carry mistakes like wounds that never got a chance to close. We punish ourselves quietly, in the way we speak to ourselves, in the opportunities we deny, in the joy we don't believe we deserve. But healing cannot take root in a heart that is constantly under attack from within. The voice you use when you speak to yourself, that voice becomes your environment. If it is harsh, your spirit withers. If it is compassionate, your soul begins to bloom. To forgive yourself is not to erase the past, but to give it a place, and then allow yourself to move beyond it. It is to take ownership of your growth, to honor the lessons, and to stop defining yourself by the moments when you were still learning. Freedom is found on the other side of forgiveness, but most people never make it to that side, because they are too deeply entangled in the story of their suffering. They have lived with pain for so long that it has become familiar, even comforting in its own way. It gives them something to hold on to, something to point to and say, "This is why I am the way I am." And in doing so, they unknowingly choose to remain prisoners of their own past. Forgiveness then is not just about releasing others or releasing guilt, it is about reclaiming your right to live fully without chains. Freedom begins when you no longer allow your history to dictate your identity. It begins when you decide that peace matters more than pride, more than revenge, more than the illusion of control. Forgiveness is not a weakness or a surrender. It is an act of profound strength, a decision to no longer let wounds define the path ahead. It is the quiet but courageous shift from survival to presence. It is saying, what happened to me or what I did no longer gets to hold the pen that writes the rest of my story. Many carry the false belief that holding on makes them stronger, that if they let go they will lose power. But in reality it takes far more strength to let go than to hold on. The person who forgives is not giving up, they are rising up. They are choosing clarity over chaos, alignment over anger. Letting go of one burden you've carried for too long is not a grand dramatic gesture. It's a quiet, deeply personal act of courage. It often begins in the stillness, in a moment when no one else is watching. It's in the decision to stop rehearsing that same painful memory over and over in your mind, the choice to stop defining yourself by what you regret, by who hurt you, or by who you couldn't be. The burdens we carry are not always visible to others, but they weigh us down all the same. Some are old conversations that still echo, some are dreams we abandoned and now grieve in silence, others are promises we broke not to others but to ourselves. We tell ourselves we're holding on because it's not the right time to let go, because we still need answers, still need closure, still need to be understood. But the truth is, closure rarely comes wrapped in the form we expect. Sometimes it doesn't come at all. And so the burden remains, not because it must, but because we've grown accustomed to it. We've worn it like armor, forgetting that it's also what keeps us from feeling free. When you finally choose to release even a small part of what has been quietly draining you, something shifts. You begin to create space, not just in your mind, but in your life. Space for peace, for breath, for clarity, for something new to grow where pain once lived.